Hello everyone and welcome to my Experience and Impressions with Pharaoh. As usual, this is just my opinion, and if your opinion differs, I would love to hear about it in the comments. I'll try to keep this one a bit shorter than the Torchlight one, so let's dive right into the summary. Pharaoh has been one of the games I played in my childhood, when I didn't have any consoles and only the family PC, so naturally I am a bit biased towards it. Overall, the city building and monument construction still appeals a lot to me, but there are some things that did not hold up too well. For one, there is sometimes a bit of downtime when playing, especially on the harder difficulties I felt, and on the other hand, there are some bugs and crashes that are annoying. After playing huge parts of the game in just a few weeks, I am also a bit tired of playing Pharaoh, so playing a mission here and there over a longer period of time is probably a better approach to playing Pharaoh. So it follows the overview. Pharaoh was released in 1999, developed by Impression Games and published by Sierra Studios. It's the fourth game in the Impressions games City Builders and the first one deviating from the setting of ancient Rome. The add-on, Cleopatra, Queen of the Nile, was released in 2000 and was developed by a different studio called Breakaway Games. The basic gameplay loop in Pharaoh is, in general, you start a mission with the mission briefing, then you go into the map, checking the map itself, topography, which resources you have, trade partners, what buildings you have available, etc., what you need to build in terms of monuments. Then it's best not to forget to wall in aggressive critters where possible, so they don't decimate your people. It follows that you lay out a course plan of what you want to go where in your head and start planting things down according to the order of importance. Also, don't forget to appease the gods, otherwise they will not be happy. And finally, build the grand monuments, deal with interruptions, events, and eventually, well, hopefully win. Now for the positive points that I wrote down while playing. First off, the presentation. The presentation is an isometric graphic. May not be the most modern of graphic styles, but with all the animations, walkers, nicely crafted menus, mission briefings, music, sound, well, the overall atmosphere of the game is just great in my opinion. Also going into overall presentation, but this has been a significant enough point for me that it warrants its own point. Right-clicking walkers will have them speak some lines about life in the city. Not only does this help giving quick check of the city if everything is alright or if you have perhaps not enough workers or too many workers, but also it adds a lot to the atmosphere of the game. And Egypt. Playing this game instilled an interest and almost fondness of ancient Egyptian culture in the little me, so I would say the setting is well presented and appealing. Not a strong point of the game per se, but there is a widescreen patch available, and that tells a lot because there is a community that cares enough about the game to actually create a widescreen patch. The first few missions were a great introduction to the concepts of the game, starting out with little to no concepts and gradually introducing more concepts as you go, so you don't feel overwhelmed. I found that to be a great introduction to the game. One of the strong points that Pharaoh introduced over its predecessor Caesar III is the monument building. The monument building mechanic works so well in the ancient Egyptian setting, since there's a lot of them and they mostly still stand today. So who hasn't heard of the Great Pyramids at Giza or Tutankhamun's tomb? Although it can be a bit slow to build the bigger pyramids, The game seems to have gained a blessing feature for monuments since I last played. This lets the gods help build pyramids if you give them enough attention, and therefore speeds up the process of large building projects significantly, cutting waiting time in the process. In the campaign, you lead Egypt from its humble beginnings all the way to its glory, and in the add-on, even towards the tail end of the Egyptian Empire. Whilst this is not the most surprising of stories, it is fitting and does what it is supposed to do: teach a tiny bit of Egyptian history and spark the interest in the subject. In the campaign, from time to time, there is a choice to be made between cultural or military missions. I personally always chose the cultural missions, since the warfare controls, they're a bit clunky to me. But on the plus side, every mission can be or could be individually replayed from the main menu, so you don't have to replay the whole campaign just to play the warfare missions or the cultural missions. The add-on brings in a lot of new and interesting ideas. There are new mission types like survive for a certain amount of years or be done with the mission in a certain amount of months. There's also a lot of new monuments and events. For example, you build multiple tombs in the Valley of the Kings, or you build Alexandria with the shiny library and the lighthouse. And there are also cool new events like a Plague of Frogs or a River of Blood, and even hailstorms that I did not really see the point of. I think they just kill all the walkers, so maybe you lose a couple of resources in a hailstorm, but overall I didn't feel too much of an impact with them. But it's a cool idea nonetheless. Of course, there are also some negative points. In the beginning, I had problems with housing animations not working. This makes it very hard to see which buildings actually work or which don't, and it also greatly detracts from the atmosphere and therefore the fun of the game. The fix, I think, was letting the game just run on one thread, but I'm not quite sure about this anymore, if really that was the fix. Sometimes the walkers don't behave as expected, ignoring roadblocks that are actually in the game just to block walkers and getting to places that shouldn't be reachable. This can lead to housing devolving, therefore reducing available workforce and causing the city into a downward spiral, if unlucky. Needless to say, this kills the fun if it happens, but luckily didn't affect me too often in this catastrophic way while playing. I did see some bizarre vendors going in places where they should not have been from time to time though. There sadly have also been quite a few crashes in the time playing the game. This is especially frustrating when it happens after not having saved in quite some time. Of course, the save creation paranoia started again after each crash, so that not too much effort was lost on occurring of a crash. On average, there probably has been around 1 crash per hour, which is not in the realms of unplayability, but it's certainly annoying. It motivated me to lower the difficulty about a third into the game to reduce waiting times to a minimum and therefore the chance of losing progress due to crashes. I guess the old games and on modern hardware are always a thing for themselves. Then again, perhaps I just have rose-tinted glasses on and they did crash back in the day as well. In conclusion, although Pharaoh does have its issues, it held up surprisingly well. I definitely enjoyed playing this old gem once again, and the GOG version, coupled with community resources, helps tremendously in fixing potential problems with the game. Now please, excuse me while I try to find some workers to build me a pyramid in the backyard. Another game from the list covered. I hope you enjoyed. As usual, Let me know your experience with the game or ideas for improvement. Also, like and subscribe if you are feeling generous. Thank you very much for watching and see you on the next video.